Hey guys, what's up? What is up? Just got this from the postman. Well, I got it a couple days ago. Didn't actually realize what was in here until today. And now I'm dying to crack this sucker open. And that is what we're going to do. So, this is David, the 8-bit guy's Planet X2 right here. We've been waiting for this for, I don't know, 8 or 9 months. He's had one of the most unusual, and I say this as a compliment, one of the most unusual Kickstarters I've witnessed. It has been there. So most Kickstarters, during the campaign itself, there's all this hype, all these promises, and the Kickstarter promoters are trying to build as much enthusiasm as possible to drive more funds coming in. And then, of course, once the Kickstarter campaign is over, it's usually crickets. Crickets for a long time. The campaigns, if they do actually deliver, they almost always deliver late and almost always disappoint, right? I mean, that's just kind of what Kickstarter is. Every now and then you have a good one. Usually there's kind of so-so. But I would say there's more than half the time they're either disappointing or they just don't, they don't deliver at all. David's campaign was different. So he basically did nothing to drive enthusiasm throughout the campaign, which I thought was crazy. But crazy in a good way. He had already reached his goal like within a day. So for him, I got the idea that he didn't want to be super successful with the campaign. He did over 100,000. He was expecting 20. If he would have done, say, $500,000, sure, that's $500,000, but he's a one-man show, and that means he would have to fulfill $500,000 worth of orders. I'm not sure he was ready to get that invested into the campaign. So he really wasn't out there pushing it too hard, and he wasn't making promises. He made 0 promises, like stretch goals and the like. Now, after the campaign ended, that is when his and his collaborators' communication to the backers started ramping up. Now, it's not like we were getting messages, every other day, but they were coming, every 2 or 3 weeks, and it was plenty good enough for me at least. And we got a good idea as far as what was going on and how the project was advancing on their end. It was pretty cool. And on top of that, so he had no stretch goals. He added stuff. I ordered the deluxe version that had the boxed copy of X3. Now, the deluxe version also came with a copy of X2, but it was just going to be slid into the box. Well, since the Kickstarter did so well, he went ahead and printed out and produced new boxes for X2 and gave that to us, and that was not promised. Now, boxed X2 was definitely something that I wanted, but it's not what I expected, and I really appreciate that. It's like he wanted to do it right. He was able to do it right because the funding was so high, and he did it. Another thing he added, I think they added VGA support to the game, which wasn't promised as well. So it's sort of like he gave stretch goals without promising them, which might have hurt his funding. Maybe he could have got a little bit more funding if this would have been obvious. But like I said, I'm not sure he wanted the project to get too out of hand. Anyway, I just can't stress how weird, and how weird in a good way, this Kickstarter campaign has gone. And I really appreciate it. So, David and guys, if you happen to see this video, I know you're not going to, thank you for running it the way you did. And I will be looking forward to the next Kickstarter campaign, which I'm guessing might have something to do with a new vintage 8-bit computer. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Okay, let's crack this sucker open and see what you get. Okay, so now I'd like to probably see a little bit more packing material, but they look like they made it just fine. And he's got a lot of experience packing these games. He's been selling them for a while, so I'm sure he knows what he's doing. Alright, so here is the new box for Planet X2. And of course, what we've all been waiting for, this sweet, sweet art on Planet X3. This is the first I've seen it. We've seen lots of Easter eggs of this game in the background of various YouTubers' videos. But I'm looking forward to playing it. I'll give you the side views. Now this right here, this is printed on. I can understand why he did that. Of course, the old school games, this would have been a sticker. But there was only going to be one version of this, so there's no reason to do a sticker. This box artwork is really, really off the charts. And then here's X2. And the ends are pretty. Let's open up X2 first. I haven't seen this. I've actually kind of forgotten what's going to be included in these. There might be a cassette tape, but I kind of like to forget, when I buy something and order it in the mail, I kind of like to forget what I got, so that when it arrives, it's like this big surprise, which I enjoy surprises. There we go. So here's the X2 soundtrack. This is done by Inger Jensen. I believe that's his name. He seems like a pretty cool dude, actually. I don't think I've ever seen the guy not smile. And here is our floppy disk. That's kind of cool. It has a personalized sleeve. I mean, there's nothing here. It's just a floppy. That's a nice label on there. I'm not gonna load these up and play them. I need to get this video out. I've got a lot of other stuff I need to be doing. So this is pretty much just going to be a show and tell, and then maybe we'll have a gameplay video later. Here is the instruction manual, and it's a full color manual. Very thick stock. This manual is not just comparable to vintage manuals, but it's actually quite a bit better quality than many vintage manuals. Let me see if I can grab one real quick and I'll show you. Okay, so here's a couple vintage games. It's like an arcade style game for the XT, and this is VET. This one is it's also for the IBM XT, probably XT. Is it AT class? It just says IBM PC, so. And this one, so this is for the multiple computers, actually. It's for like the Atari 800, Apple II, TRS-80, PET 2001. So this is a game of that vintage. Full color box. This is a cassette game. That would have been funny if he would have included a registration card. But this is a sort of instruction manual you would have gotten. And while there's nothing wrong with this, sort of a tricolor manual, pretty common for the time, this is just, not comparable. Now, here is a sort of example of a later game. And as the industry matured, there was competition, and gamers demanded a little bit more polished product. So you get something like this. And like my copy isn't in the greatest of condition, but it's very similar to what you get with X2 and X3. It has the sticker, and this is an actual sticker that tells you what computer this is for. I do like these slip cases. Of course, the only problem with these is this slip cover often gets lost, but I don't know, I like them. So this has a really thick manual, right? Very nice, but it's just a black and white manual once you get in it. The label for the disc. And there's a little bit of extra stuff in here. Copy protection book, or explanation, I guess. This is kind of the cool stuff you would get back then. All little offers and maybe addendums to the manual. And this is the disc exchange form, which is kind of cool. You know, maybe next time David should add some swag to the box, just as a nod to how older games used to come packaged with, you know, various little bits. But with that said, let's get this stuff put up. I think as a throwback product, this really exceeds all expectations. Maybe the cardboard is a little thin. This box is it's a more rugged box. And maybe that's because of the slipcover design. But these are not going to be used and abused. 90% of these, maybe even 95% or more of these, are just going to sit on a shelf. And this is plenty rugged enough for that. Yeah, it's just so well done. Okay, so let's get this out of the way, and let's look at the star of the show, X3. Okay, Planet X3. Let's crack this sucker open. So this box is really tight. So just beware that when you get this, the box is going to be really tight. And be careful when you open it. Okay, just be wary. These boxes, they don't fit perfectly. You can even see, I don't know if you can see that, it's even tearing just a little bit on the edge, on the corner. Another tiny tear right there. I'm not complaining about this, but just be aware. And whenever you're opening your box, be careful, because I think it's probably pretty easy to mangle this pretty good. Hey, look at that. So, and here this is the label to the 3.5-inch disc. My box, I guess there's some glue in here, and my box is a little bit wonky. The glue hasn't taken effect, or it's lost its grip. So I'm just pressing this back down, and it seems to be re-gluing. You know, the box looks really good, but it's not perfect. Let's be honest. So here's what you get, and I thought this came with a cassette version of the soundtrack, but I guess I was wrong. I did get the cassette soundtrack for X2. So here's everything I had in the box. I have a user manual, what is called the Extraterrestrial Exploration Survival Guide, which is an aux manual of some sort. Looks like it has maps. I'm assuming this is another full color manual. And it looks like he's going into pretty good detail as far as what hardware this game is compatible to. AdLib, OPL3, LPT. I thought I was supposed to get that cassette. So here's the cassette. I'll have to look this up. Maybe I'm just mistaken. I know you can order that off his website. But very nice user manual. The tactical manual. And of course the disc with, you know, the sleeve with his branding, which is kind of cool. Here's the label art. And then here is the label art for the 3.5. Okay guys, here is everything you get with the deluxe order. Now, if you only ordered the light version, you're only going to get the 5.25 disc and I think the 2 manuals. But I'm not 100% sure. It's still done really well. These manuals are awesome. They're really done well. The boxes, my X3 box isn't great, I got to be honest, but it's probably about as good as it could be. Here's the X2 cassette, which I'm happy to have. I really thought I was supposed to get the X3 cassette. So I don't know, your miles may vary on that. Overall, I'm super satisfied, and I'm really looking forward to digging into this game and testing it out. I really thought long and hard about helping him with the beta, but in the end I kind of got greedy because I didn't want the beta to ruin my experience of the game. So, okay guys, that is it for me. This is X3, X2. Hope yours arrives soon, and you guys take care. All right, thanks for watching.